this defense, this team kind of goes as their pass rush goes. So I think that's always a story. I have this kind of in my questions every single year, I feel like. We can also phrase this question as our comrade Benjamin Santos does in our Colombian chat, as he so eloquently put it. Pass rush going to be ass this year.
Amateur Hour Cheese Podcast. Amateur Hour Cheese Podcast. Amateur Hour Podcast on KC Sports Network. Amateur on KC Sports Network. Hour on KC Sports Network. Podcast on KC Sports Net. We're gonna talk Chiefs football for you, and you, and you, and you.
What is this, amateur hour?
Yeah, I ain't no Superman businessman like you. You know, I'm just an
amateur,
I suppose.
Amateur hour
Is what's happening.
Amateur hour
Is what's happening.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
Yeah, that's right, folks. The show is called Amateur Hour. I'm Ryan Scott Hall. And joining me today, heck, if you don't know by now, come on, it's his Dirkness.
Sup?
You know, Dirk, I'm just chilling. I'm prepping my mind to continue these 2025 like season kickoff questions that you built for us. And I got to start though, Dirk. I got something to say. Oh, I got something to say. Welcome, friends, to season 14 of Amateur Hour. Yeah, I know. Maybe an episode late for that. But this year, as Dirk kind of told us in our last episode, this year, perhaps more than any other, your Kansas City Chiefs have something to prove. Doubt is positively rampant across the league, and there's one very simple reason why. It's because the Chiefs got their asses kicked in the Super Bowl, Dirk. That's why. Like, for real. They chased something that's never been done in football, collapsed just before their culmination, and now they're primed for pessimism. You know, the carcass, the Chiefs' carcass is laying on the side of the road. It's being picked at by all of the buzzards in the national media and the fans of other teams across the league. Here's the story I'm telling myself. People wanted to bury the Chiefs for years. Losing the Super Bowl the way that they did boosted the confidence, albeit irrationally, of a lot of fans and a lot of franchises around the NFL. It's almost like the Eagles blowing us out confirmed all of these priors that the Chiefs detractors had, right? And so this is going to be a very interesting season for a host of reasons, but I think top of my list is just seeing how both the Chiefs and their opponents respond to that blowout in the Super Bowl. And I think what I'm really hoping for is that the 2025 Chiefs are like that meme of the old man who's clutching his stomach and says, "Call an ambulance." And then he pulls out a gun and says, "But not for me." Like, that is what I am hoping for. Right? That is who I want the Chiefs to be in 2025. Or maybe just a little bit more fitting for our friend Joshua Briscoe. Maybe what I want the Chiefs to be in 2025 is playing possum. We got a lot of doubters, man. You built our first question, in fact, Dirk, kind of around just how bad the Super Bowl went. You want to take it away there?
Yeah, so the number 6 question here on our 2025 Chiefs season preview: if the Chiefs played the Eagles in that 2024 Super Bowl 10 times, how many times did they win? In other words, was the Super Bowl a fluke? Or did the 2024 Chiefs actually get exposed in a sense of what people were saying all year, that they weren't as good as their record? I think this is important because you either think the Chiefs were good enough to win the Super Bowl last year and they just flopped hard, or you think the Chiefs were a deeply flawed team and they held it together with smoke and mirrors, as I believe Matt Lane says, until it got exposed in a big fat way, which kind of sets the table for 2025. Do the Chiefs just need to play better in the big game, or do they need to greatly improve as a team to get back to the big game?
I mean, I think it's the latter, at least versus like where they were in that game. But here's the thing. Like, the good news is that work is done. Like, the hay's in the barn, as they say. Signed Jalen Moore, drafted Josh Simmons, have brought back a Hollywood Brown. You're trying to redesign some things a little bit on offense and defense.
And a lot of other stuff.
I think that they're like, trying to have some type of a fresh approach. But like, I think the fact of the matter is this: if you look at those two teams, those two rosters, exactly the way that they were, and they just simulate that game 10 times exactly where both teams were at that moment when the Super Bowl started, the Chiefs might get 2 or 3. Like, maybe. And that, I think, is me feeling generous, being like, well, of course we'd win at least 1, right? So 2 or 3 feels like they're the Chiefs is what I'm doing there. But I don't have anything to say why other than they're the Chiefs. And this, I think, is what made so many people mad at them last year, including like the person that I think represents national opinion to me in a lot of ways, and that's Bill Simmons. That guy has like blazed this off-season trail of how the Chiefs are not all that good anymore. And, that he decided to rank Josh Allen and Lamar above Patrick because, well, he's just not as good as they are. If it's one game, I'll take Patrick Mahomes. But if we're talking about a season, no, they've surpassed him, right? Like there are people that are kind of done here, right? Like they think that the Chiefs are over. And I mean, I obviously don't believe that. If the Chiefs were over, we probably wouldn't be here. Let's be honest. But like,
save that for next year. So you're saying if the Chiefs do fall apart this year, that's the end. We're out.
They suck now. Stop going to the games. No, I think to again be as direct in response to your question as I can. I think they might win 2 or 3, but I'm doing it because they're the Chiefs. And I think that people got really tired of that last year with all the close wins and everything else, where it's like, how do they keep doing it? Or whatever questions you want to ask. And people just kept pointing to, well, it's the Chiefs. It's Mahomes. You know, he was all pissed off because he lost a bunch of money in the Super Bowl because he bet on the Chiefs, because he's like, I see all the problems, but if I bet against the Chiefs, I'm an idiot, so I can't. And he felt stuck. And that to me is a super, like, really dumb narrative to be, I don't think the team's good anymore, or I'm going to rank quarterbacks over him because I lost money. But, you know, that's Bill Simmons. He can do what he wants. How many times do you think the Chiefs win if they play that game 10 times?
See, I mean, it's almost impossible to say like 5 or more, isn't it? So I mean, you're kind of stuck in there. Like, yeah, the Chiefs get 1, but you know, there's no way they get 5. So I'll go a little higher. I'll go in the 3 to 4 range. But it is an interesting question to kind of just like ask people. I'd like to get like I kind of wanted to test our thoughts, but like I'd like to get like a general consensus of what people think, just to think if it was just like one game that went horribly wrong, because I do think everything the Eagles want to do works better with a lead, and everything just fell their way at the start of that game. And then Mahomes makes the crucial mistake when they're down 10-0, I think. Man, this game's really out of sight of my memory now.
Made a lot of crucial mistakes. And I think the worst play that he made was when they were already down 20 something. He's like, I thought we had a shot there. And as soon as I think he said the second pick, but maybe it was earlier than, I don't know.
Well, the pick 6 was at 10-0, I believe, to push it to 17-0. And the way the 2024 Chiefs were built, just they weren't equipped to overcome that. So, I mean, once they reached that point, it's pretty much done. And then you have DeAndre Hopkins trying to catch a ball like he's never tried to catch a pass before, but whatever. All right, no, we'll get this. But I do think that game can go a number of different ways if it just gets off to a better start. And the Chiefs can kind of grind their way through the game as they had in all the other games. Like, I think it was kind of on the table that other teams could have blown them out last year. They just had to get out to that hot start like they did, and then just kind of push the Chiefs into pressing, because they weren't built to do that. And they didn't do it all year. I mean, they didn't face big deficits all season long. They weren't ready to handle it. So that kind of happened on the big stage. So I think, they would kind of hold their own, if they play that 10 times. But I do think it's an interesting thought exercise just to kind of take the pulse of where that Chiefs team ended up, because the talk all season was what's wrong with the Chiefs. Well, we all sat back and laughed at it and said, we're 15-1. That's what's wrong with us. But then everyone's, fantasy kind of comes true in that Super Bowl game. And it's just kind of interesting to see like who was right. I mean, were we right, but then just shit the bed, or were they right? And it just took a long time to actually see what they saw.
So I'm curious if you, I don't know, are in the same boat as me when it comes to mostly just being curious about like how people respond to that. The Chiefs are going to play 14 teams this year. Like, that's just the guaranteed regular season number of teams that they're going to play. How many teams do you think with the Chiefs on their schedule are going to do the thing where they're like, we saw them get exposed in the Super Bowl, so I'm not they're not the team. We don't have to be as prepped and perfect for the 2025 Chiefs as if we were playing them 2 years ago. Like,
is it like the idea that last year would have been every team's Super Bowl when they played the Chiefs?
I guess, yeah. Is anybody turning down the volume on that? Is anybody going to start saying like, this isn't the same old Chiefs, so we don't have to prepare the same way? Like, we don't have to be as on point. Do they? Because even 1% relaxing in your mind can become an advantage for the other team. And that's where I'm thinking, like, is there enough doubt in the minds of opponents about the Chiefs that it becomes an advantage for the Chiefs? You are not properly prepared to play this team because you think that we're the team that got their asses kicked in the Super Bowl. But even that team only lost one game all year before that. Like, I don't know.
No, I think it's more of a, this team has, been running the league for 7 years now. And maybe they sense a bit of weakness, so they're, now's our chance to like get back at them.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think it'll still be teams getting up for us. It'll be sort of a Super Bowl feeling every game for the other team, and there's a bit of invincibility that's lost off the team right now. Like, I don't think there's any question about that. I mean, it's going from a 2-time champion that's only lost one game on like the final play of the game really all season. Like, there's an aura a bit of like, okay, well, we got to be perfect in this game to beat this team kind of thing. Whereas instead of like the Eagles just kind of came in loose, like we're gonna kick your ass. So I do think there will be a bit of that, like teams not scared of us. Like, I don't think we kind of talked about that in a Super Bowl preview too. Like, the Eagles aren't going to be scared of this team. Like a handful or half the league, I don't know what you want to say, that would be intimidated going up against the Chiefs. Like the Bills. They play the Chiefs close, but they're still playing them in a playoff game, and they're scared because they know the history with them. Like, oh my God, it's happening again, and kind of tighten up a bit, and it gets really tough to win that game. Whereas the Eagles are coming in like, we ain't scared of this team. We beat them last year or whatever. Like, we can think we can take advantage of these weaknesses. Like they're just a tough-minded team that takes it to the opponent, and they weren't scared going into the game at all, and it showed. And I do think you might see kind of more of that around the league, which means the Chiefs are going to have to up their game to answer that. Like what are the level that teams are getting to playing them.
That's interesting. I mean, because basically what you did there is kind of flip my question on its head. And it's like, well, it actually requires more of the Chiefs because they don't have the mental edge over these teams anymore. If everyone thinks the Chiefs are vulnerable, it actually might make them play a little bit better or be a little bit sharper because they say, well, now this is the team that we can beat. They're beatable at this point. It's been proven. And it might give other teams confidence. I mean, that's where, when you started talking about how the Eagles weren't scared of the Chiefs, the first team I thought of is Cincinnati. Like that's the narrative around the Bengals. They're the only team in the AFC that's not afraid to play the Chiefs. And that's why they always play them tight, because they have beaten them in an AFC championship game. And it's cemented in their minds. We've done it before. We can do it again. And that's where some of those, those guys like a Josh or like a Lamar, they get stuck in that rut of like, can we beat this team? But that's I mean, that is an interesting way to kind of like, I guess, re-engineer it and think like more is going to be required of the Chiefs this year, and they're really going to have to be on top of their stuff because you're not going to walk into these games with teams being like, how do we even win? What do we even do?
Like they know, like they're going to pull this out at the end. Like we can't let this game stay close, kind of thing, and then push themselves on mistakes. So,
yeah, right on. Well, let's take a break and then we'll get to the rest of the questions.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
Calling all Chiefs fans, you could be on the field at the 50 inside GEHA Field for the official coin toss at a Chiefs home game this season. Visit Chiefs.com/GEHA now. Enter to win a chance to be on the field for a once-in-a-lifetime view of the pre-game coin toss. Plus, you can score other exclusive prizes. Enter for a chance to win at Chiefs.com/GEHA. GEHA is the proud partner of the Kansas City Chiefs.
What's up, guys? I'm BJ Kissel, founder and CEO of KC Sports Network, and I'm here to talk to Kansas City businesses. If you rely on technology, you need an IT support team that's not just another vendor, but a true IT partner. That's why I want to introduce you to my friend and neighbor, KJ Miller. He is a VCIO at ThrottleNet, the Midwest's highest rated and most reviewed IT support company. They've been in business for more than 25 years, helping companies stay secure, productive, and ahead of the curve. They aren't just IT support, but they provide data security, IT strategy, and cloud software services. They do it all, and their reviews show they do it better than anyone else. So if you want to hear about how ThrottleNet can help your local business, join the conversation with myself, KJ Miller from ThrottleNet, and our resident genius from KC Sports Network when it comes to IT, at least as he's affectionately known by us, Mr. Craig Stout. Click the link in the description to hear how ThrottleNet can help you.
Hey, we're back.
And we're back. Thanks to the men's and women's clubs. All right, let's get to the second question here on the docket, or seventh question, really. 7 of the 10 preseason questions, season preview questions, whatever. I'll get this. Okay. All right. We did not do any shows all off-season long. It was a busy off-season for the Chiefs. I'm sure people are just dying to know our thoughts. Dying to know our thoughts. So I thought we'd just do a little full off-season recap in one question with I would say the biggest moves were bringing back their own guys. So I'm curious, how would you rank the 3 contracts the Chiefs handed out to their own? Talking about George Karlaftis, Trey Smith, and Nick Bolton. How would you rank those 3 in terms of how you liked them? Which one you like the most? The 3 you like the worst?
I think that anyone that doesn't put George at number 1 is fooling themselves because it's clearly the best contract for both the player and the team. The way that they structured it to where like the new money doesn't even kick in for 2 more years. It was brilliant. It's brilliant. George is getting all the money that he needs to be happy, and the Chiefs maintain a tremendous amount of flexibility. And I still think that without question, Karlaftis' best football is ahead of him. And so I'm very, very excited about that extension. It went from like Pretty Ricky, hey, white boy summer, hearing this, to like within a day, Karlaftis signed that deal. It felt like that one creeped up on me.
When he was doing that, he wasn't even talking about Karlaftis, was he? I mean, he was talking about Crosby and Hutchinson and other guys. Like, did he have like a Karlaftis is going to get a new contract tweet or anything?
Yes, he tweeted a day or two before, but I mean, it felt really fast. Like, hey, this is coming, and then it instantly was here.
Ricky is like he's better than Adam Schefter and Rappaport now. Like, that dude he is on the money, man. The amount of stuff he gets right way before anybody else is incredible.
I mean, he was calling Trey Smith's extension like before free agency started, practically, and like the numbers were almost exactly right 4 months later. I think it's really this like battle for number 2, just because that contract for George was so good. Do you agree with that?
I do have George Karlaftis at number 1. I'm afraid we're gonna have the same list. I was trying to think of how we could differentiate, but yeah, I had George at number 1. I think he's just a guy that you want around. We've never once questioned his effort, work ethic, or dedication to winning and the team. So he might be overpaid for his talent, but not for his value to the team. And like, those are the guys you just want around. Like, you don't want to take the chance of paying someone, having them get paid and get lazy, that kind of thing. And I just don't think it's on the table that happens with him. So I don't think he's an elite defensive end or anything, but I do think he's like properly paid, which, if you're saying that at the time when someone gets a new contract, that means it's a good deal, because almost every time you hand out a new contract to like a top end player, it's going to look like they're overpaid, because it's just the cap's going up, 8 to 10% every single year. So every single year, contracts are going to go up that much. So then, in a couple of years, it looks either fine or it looks like a bargain. But I think everyone looked at this George Karlaftis deal as it happened, and it was just like, that's where he should be. He's properly slotted in the edge rankings of where his play is and where his pay is. So I think that was almost universally applauded, was that deal.
I think my favorite part was when George spoke to the media. So they ask him something or other, and he ends up saying, and I quote, however many more years, in reference to his extension. And I'm just like, he says it in such a way that revealed so much about the type of guy that he is. Like, this dude just wants to play football in Kansas City and embrace every opportunity he's going to get to be a leader or to win championships. And it appears that he's not particularly concerned about anything else. The new money doesn't even kick in for 2 years. I mean, like, it's the textbook definition of a team-friendly deal. And George, I mean, they asked him, it's something like, the length of the extension, and you're going to be here for a long time. He's like, yeah, however many more years, like, just sign me up. I'm in a Chiefs uniform. Are you kidding me? It's great. Like, it seems like there was a lot of talk about Karlaftis kind of like using what he learned from Frank Clark and now becoming that guy for Ashton Gelati, and any of the other like undrafted guys that were in camp playing edge, but kind of doing it for Felix too. Like, George has, become a teacher in a way, and he's still on his rookie deal. Like, that's awesome stuff, man. Not only because he's reached that level, but because he's got that kind of character.
And also, I think he's the kind of guy that you want to pay early, because you can get good value for it. Whereas a lot of people are frustrated, I think, because they haven't paid Trent McDuffie, but he's going to get paid at an elite level no matter when you pay him. Whereas George Karlaftis, if he was about to hit like free agency, then I think you'd have to like overpay him to keep him in town. Whereas you're paying him good and early, like the Chiefs are doing, and he's like, hell yeah, I'll take a big payday right now and just have financial security for a life already wrapped up. Like, it's a no-brainer for him in the team. Whereas Trent McDuffie, I think you got to play the game. You can get into franchise tags and that kind of thing. Karlaftis not quite at the level where you want to franchise him at the edge, money amount that would be. So I think he's the perfect level of player that you want to extend early like that.
Yeah. I think I got to put Bolton at 2. And I know that honestly, there are a lot of people that just didn't want Bolton to get an extension, period. And so no matter how much they paid him, they probably weren't going to be happy about it. That being said, I know that there were a lot of people that like weren't all that unhappy with where the money came in on Bolton's deal. Another very young guy. I mean, I guess, I don't know. I'm pretty high on Nick Bolton. He's obviously not a perfect player or anything, but I don't know. Do you not get the sense that Spags is able to hide his weaknesses a lot of the time? And like when Nick Bolton is on the field, the defense plays better. Like that's kind of what it boils down to for me when it comes to him. And I don't know. I like the way he mixes it up in the box. He's got that like old school edge to him against the run. And he's made a ton of plays in key moments. He's super reliable. Like this, they call him dirty tough. That's Andy's thing, right? He can make splash plays. And he appears to be one of the smartest guys that Spags has ever coached. Like, I think it kind of came down to Bolton versus Justin Reed, and they went with the younger of the two, but they needed like one or the other to do all the calls and help everybody out. And they sided with Nick Bolton in that equation for whatever reason. But like, I think that if people would just get over the fact that Nick Bolton is not Fred Warner, that everyone would feel pretty good, because I think he's, you know, among the best linebackers in the league at the things that he does well. And no one is good at everything unless it's, well, not even Patrick Mahomes can throw the ball deep. So,
oh, shots fired.
Love you, Patrick.
I think it's funny because he's like the most polarizing player on the team, whereas he might be like the easiest player to evaluate what he does well and what he doesn't do well. So I think that's kind of ironic, probably is what you call it. I mean, with Bolton, I feel like Spags has an undying trust in Nick Bolton, and I have an undying trust in Spags. So I'm fully on board with this deal. And that's not to say like that's not a take of like the Chiefs can do no wrong, so you just have to take what they do, you know, accept it, be a fan of everything they do. But like he goes to bat for Nick Bolton any chance he can get. Like he calls him his second, you know, brain out on the field. They're bouncing ideas off each other all the way up into, you know, Super Bowl game-winning drives. So, you know, Bolton's kind of interesting because I've always identified as pro Bolton. I do understand both sides, but I've also publicized that I'm evaluating him as a second-round pick on a rookie contract. Whereas now those expectations are about to change, because I think a lot of people's problem with Nick Bolton is that they already foresaw the extension he was going to get, which he did get, so they're not wrong. But they were kind of judging him as that player with the extension already, where I wasn't at that point. But now you have to. So now you're evaluating Nick Bolton as, you know, I don't know where he landed, like a top 10 paid linebacker in the NFL. So the expectations will be a little different. And if he's struggling out there in pass coverage, I'll be, you know, more apt to criticize him throughout the year, because now he's one of these well-paid players and the expectations are just higher for him. So I don't want to say it's like a make or break year for him or anything, but I wonder if we reach like more of a consensus opinion on Nick Bolton after the season, with how he looks after having this contract handed to him.
Like, because he's not going anywhere, everybody finally comes to terms with the fact that he's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that.
Unfortunately, he is my number 2 as well. We have the same rankings.
Yeah. So that leaves Trey Smith at 3.
Yep.
Why is he 3rd for you? Like, is it just as simple as positional value, or I don't know?
That's definitely part of it. Which means that I'm critical of deals like paying Joe Thuney, which I was, and I was wrong, obviously, because Joe Thuney turned out to be a very great player for the Chiefs. Like you'd definitely go back and do that contract over with him. But I was not crazy about paying him that amount of money, because I just don't think guards are that important in general. So I'm not crazy about it. At least it makes more sense once you couple it with the Joe Thuney deal. I was not crazy about if we're going to be paying, you know, our 3 interior offensive linemen all top of the line money, and we still can't turn around, hand the ball off on a 3rd and 1 and pick it up. Like, if we're paying all 3 of these guys top money, like, we should be able to do that no problem, kind of thing. So at least there's a vision there now with trading Thuney. You got to get younger. They chose Trey Smith. They're betting on the long term there. But I just think he's a good player that you're paying like an elite player at this point. And so that's just kind of the problem I have with it. It's a lot of money, and it's not an important position. And I think he still kind of struggles in pass protection. So when you're paying a guy like that, you want a guy like Joe Thuney where there's no questions, and he's a top 3 guard in the NFL. And I don't think Trey Smith is at that level right now.
Mm-hmm. This is honestly this is one of the toughest parts of the offseason for me. One thing that I really admire is that every single time Trey Smith talks, I walk away so impressed with him. And we got to keep in mind, from an outside perspective, we're not in the building. We don't see everything that this guy does. Trey Smith was like a top 10 recruit in his high school class. Like people know Trey Smith by name. He is a household name because of what a top recruit he was. He was without question the number 1 offensive lineman in his class, but like a weapon. When he went to Tennessee, it was a huge deal. And so this is a guy that we see, he's a 6th round pick and he overcame this medical thing. Trey Smith was the shit. And so the Chiefs just really got lucky with him. And I think that that dude, have you heard these stories about when they go to offensive line masterminds and it's we sit here and consider Creed Humphrey the best player on their line, probably. But when you go to offensive line masterminds, Trey Smith has 20 people around him. He's the guy nationally, right? And I don't think that he is that player, purely on the football field. I don't think that Trey Smith is the best guard in football. And he was definitely paid like it. And so that I don't like too much. They overpaid him. He earned it because he's been underpaid for 4 years. But I don't know. I mean, I hate to see Joe Thuney go. Every single time Trey Smith talked about Joe Thuney, it looked like he was about to cry. That guy, he taught me how to be a man. He taught me how to be a football player. He's the best guy I've ever known. They are really going to miss Joe Thuney. I think that honestly, I was excited initially that Trey's going to go and they're either going to draft somebody or they're going to play Kingsley or Wanye or something like one of these draft picks is going to get that spot and we're going to see what we have. And as soon as they saw that cap number and decided that they were going to franchise him, the Chiefs started going down this road. At the time, were you frustrated when they franchised him?
I think so, yeah, but I kind of figured the long-term deal was just going to happen right away.
Right. And because it didn't, I mean, I have in my notes, another free agency begins with an unnecessarily large cap hit because they can't get a contract extension done in a timely fashion. And that's irritating. It hamstrings them on who they can sign. And now that they have all those deals done, and maybe this was the strategy, aren't the Chiefs at 20 million in cap space right now? And maybe it's all just to roll over for next year, but I think they have a lot. And maybe that's what they need. Like I said, maybe that's the plan, right? But it kind of sucks to be man, we could have signed XYZ. We're thin at this position or that. And they didn't do anything because Trey was on a franchise tag, all the way up until literally the deadline. And so that I don't know, but his contracts is enormous. I think the whole package, pause, I guess. I don't know. He's a sound investment, right? I don't think it's going to blow up in their face, but I'll say this. The difference between Trey Smith and Joe Thuney, Joe Thuney to me is a Hall of Fame caliber player. And Trey Smith feels like a Hall of Fame caliber, resume, but on the field might be where he needs the most work. He reminds me of Kelechi Osemele, where he just physically dominates people, but he's so rough around the edges that sometimes the technique isn't quite right. Or he, I don't think that they didn't give up a single sack last year. That's still propaganda in my mind, but whatever. No shade at Trey Smith. Seriously, he's obviously an amazing player, deserved every penny. Probably.
Yeah. Well, we should give the caveat, or I want to give the caveat. Caveat.
I think.
Caveat. I want to give the caveat. I'm always a fan of re-signing your own talent. So I usually get way more mad at either overspending in free agency, or I get really mad when you trade for someone to then pay them, like kind of like Frank Clark. So those are the ones that kind of, obviously Frank Clark worked out too. So, why is anybody listening to me here? I don't like giving up like a first round draft pick to then pay someone, because the Seahawks didn't want to pay him. So why would we give up a first round pick to just then we would pay him? So those are the ones that always kind of anger me more. But repaying your own talent, you know what you got. The coaches know who it is. They know what they're doing. And so I'm never too mad at repaying your own talent. So I'm on board with all three of these, but ranking them, definitely Karlaftis 1, Bolton 2, and Trace.
Last word on the offensive line before we take a break here. The current group includes first and second round picks from the last 2 drafts, as well as 4 paid players, 2 of whom were drafted and 2 of whom are free agents. And they just traded away a Hall of Famer. Like, Brett Veach is not playing with this offensive line, folks. They are absolutely stacked. We'll talk more after this break.
What's good, everyone? It is KCSN betting analyst Benny Heiss. Something hit me as I was driving to the Missouri side, ironically, for something not available on the Kansas side. I cross over. I just can't get over how long sports fans in the state of Missouri have been waiting. It feels like forever. Good news is you don't have to wait much longer, because DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is finally coming to the Show Me State. And if you're thinking, yeah, but I got to wait on the sidelines until December 1st, it's not true. You can sign up right now. And when we go live, new Missouri customers get $300 in bonus bets just for placing a $5 bet. $5. That's not even as much as a pumpkin spice latte that's going to take over. So it's not some ragtag sports, but this is DraftKings. You got live in-game betting. So if your team starts hot, you could jump in mid-play. There's lightning fast payouts. None of that wait 3 days for your money nonsense. And you've got more ways to get in on the action. There's no better way to start. It's all from your phone. When we go live, you'll be betting with the sportsbook trusted by millions, safe, secure, fast withdrawals, everything you want. Well, except maybe a guarantee that your team will cover the spread, but that part's still on you. So here's the move. You download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use code KCSN, and when we go live December 1st, that $5 bet turns into $300 in bonus bets. That is code KCSN in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus and physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after they are issued. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
Here we're
back. We don't know who's taking the lead here. We got 2 quarterbacks leading the team.
And the only thing we can say coming out of break is, hey, we're back. Yeah. That's the only line. It's the only option. I'm going to say anything else.
We need something. Come on, give us something here. All right, we're going to do some real quick hitters. These are not actual questions, but we are going to we're going to do some whose mans is this. We're going to plant some flags on some players that we like. We're going to go through quick here. So Ryan, first question. Who is a veteran mid-level / backup player that you're excited about on the 2025 Chiefs?
Come on. I put down Jalen Moore. The reason that I wrote down Jalen Moore for the veteran mid-level / backup player that I'm excited about is because Jalen Moore is like that gift that you haven't opened yet. He's the mystery box, if you recall the metaphor from Family Guy. A boat is just a boat, but the mystery box can be anything. And Jalen Moore, for all the time that he's spent as Trent Williams backup, he's only played these 7 starts that he got last year, appeared to, play admirably. And certainly in Chiefs circles, everyone's like, they're so pissed that the Chiefs signed him away. Right. I don't know how many snaps Jalen Moore is going to play this year. It might be none. But it also appears that he is quite literally the right tackle in waiting, at least, starter next year. So I guess that's my guy, Jalen Moore.
Well, congratulations. I was trying to break up the offensive line, defensive line talk with some quick hitting, fun questions, and you went right back to the offensive line. So nice work there. I'm going to join you actually, because my player is on the defensive. Well, My player, yeah, he's on the defensive line. I was going to set this up better, but a free agent we signed that caught my eye, and I haven't seen anybody say 2 words about him all offseason or preseason or anything, but I think he's going to be a good player. Jerry Tillery. Jerry Tillery. I think he's going to be a good player. All I've seen you do is shit on this defensive tackle room. You think they're going to be terrible. Not like our 2023 best defense in the NFL had a really great defensive tackle room, so I don't know.
That rotation was seriously flawed.
I just have a feeling. I have a feeling Jerry Tillery is going to make some plays and be a solid player for us this year. And I haven't heard anyone say anything about him, so planting a flag there. Next quick hitter. Who's a young player not named Josh that you're excited about heading into this season?
I feel lucky that I get to go first because the clear and obvious answer is Noel Williams. The Chiefs traded up to get a guy that Craig Stout himself, the one and only Craig Stout, said, this is the corner that fits this system the best. If the Chiefs could grow one in a lab, here's the guy for this draft class. And what do you know? He's on the team. And I've heard a story that Dave Merritt called him out in a press conference. Can't find that audio anywhere, but everyone keeps referencing it cryptically as if Noel Williams has been, playing terribly. When he's on the field, that dude pops pads big time. I love how physical he is. I love that he turned the ball over 8 times last year. I cannot wait to see how this secondary kind of changes because of the playmaking and physicality of a guy like Noel Williams.
I'm gonna go with. See, he definitely caught my eye, but I was going with the other 2 rookies on the defensive side of both caught my eye.
Dirk.
Dirk. Walking through Nebraska furniture market. Who could forget? I'm gonna go with Ashton Gelati Dottie. We like the party. Going with Ashton Gelati. I like his little rivalry that he's got going with Josh Simmons in the training camp. I feel like he fired a few shots at the end where he kind of got some, because early on it was all Josh Simmons, and I felt bad because it's like, man, they're just tossing this guy around every highlight. Like, yeah, sure, Josh Simmons looks good, but the other guys on our team too. But yeah, I think he's showing some fight. I thought he flashed a couple times in the preseason. I just like what he's doing, and I thought Bassa too. Is it Bassa?
People keep saying Bassa.
Ooh, even better. I like that. But Bassa just flying through the line and making a couple tackles in the backfield. I don't know if that's his thing. I don't know if that's going to last past preseason, but that definitely caught my eye. It was DJ Specialish, just shooting through the line and making plays in the backfield, where I feel like we've always had linebackers that kind of sit back and, strafe down the line kind of thing, where we haven't seen anything like that, someone attacking the running back like that since Derek Johnson. So that definitely caught my eye. So I kind of got my eye on both those. I honestly couldn't decide. But I like Bill Williams too. I like these mid-round rookie defenders we got. I'll say that. All right, give me a
crazy dude. That guy was so fun in that Chicago game.
Yeah, give me a fringe 53 guy that you want known as your guy.
I feel like I have felt this way for years. I'm like the one waiting for Malik Herring to have his breakout. There's something about him, whether it's the build or what, because he can play inside, outside. He appears to be kind of a perfect fit for the system. And he just kind of keeps hanging around as he's the 5th defensive end, and we keep drafting guys ahead of him because we don't know, and he just, he won't die, right? Malik Herring is hanging around. And now that Felix is done for the year, I don't know. There's opportunity there, man. And if, snaps are open and Malik Herring is active, he can play all 4 positions on that defensive line. And so I think he's that guy for me that he probably only made the 53 because Felix got hurt. And I think we're going to get more out of him than people expect. They'll just see that name and say, whatever. And I think he might go out and make a couple plays this year.
I know the lab had him getting cut. So I don't want to see how that. Hopefully, by the time this plays, he's just not on the team.
That's
this will play well. I'm gonna go with the training camp superstar, the training camp MVP this year, who I usually shit on, because he is. Oh, Herring did make the 53. Hey, good update. Thank you, producer Nick. I always kind of make fun of the training camp superstar because people lose their minds and they put these unrealistic expectations on them, and it almost never pans out. As we saw with Chance Steele getting cut this offseason. What is it?
Carson.
I always call him Chance every single time. Even as I was saying it, I was like, is that right? I'm going to sound like an idiot. I'm going to go with Tyquan Thornton, who I saw every single day making a play. And yet I think the difference is between him and other training camp superstars of past is that he's talented. He was a second round pick. He's got blazing speed. And if he's going to start producing like this, like I do think quarterback receiver relationships are a thing. And it seemed like for whatever reason, he and Mahomes were just gelling this offseason, this training camp, this preseason. So I think Tyquan Thornton's actually going to play a role for this team. I'm hoping he kind of develops before we get that Rasheed suspension, so he can kind of step in there. But I could see Tyquan Thornton making some noise this year. All right, last question of these quick hitters: who takes a leap this year? Some guy who's already on the team, or I guess not being on the team, but just takes a leap from one level to the next this year.
Travis Kelce. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh,
not Travis Kelce. No, my leap this year, I think, is probably the most obvious candidate of any player on the team, and that's got to be Jaden Hicks. Jaden Hicks is literally expected to take a leap, not just in playing time, but, ideally performance. As a rookie last year, Jaden Hicks, I think, led the team in turnovers. The guy's got a nose for the football. He seems very, very comfortable doing his job, and even more, as they're continuing to give him reps in the preseason. I just think I just continue to see Jaden Hicks be what I consider a playmaker, and that is what this team needs. They suck at turning the ball over historically over the last few years. And I just think that the more guys that we can get on the field, like a Jaden Hicks, like a Noel Williams too, like we need to be turning the ball over, right? So that guy that's going to take a leap this year, I'm fully expecting Jaden Hicks to be, at the very least for Chiefs fans, like truly a household name. You're going to start seeing 21 jerseys all over the place. I think that guy is for real. Very excited about Jaden Hicks.
I am going to go with Charles Omenihu. I think did he have the suspension last year, or was he hurt? Why did he miss the beginning of last year?
I believe last year was recovering from the Super Bowl or AFC Championship game injury.
And did he have a suspension the year before?
He had a suspension when they first signed him. He missed the first few games of his contract, and then the next year, he got hurt right before the Super Bowl, but I think he was also, I don't know, there's something in there. But yeah, he got hurt in the AFC Championship game, and so he wasn't healthy to start last year, and we didn't get him until like week 10 or something. I think it drug on a lot longer than we expected.
I think we just haven't seen the true Charles Omenihu, what he can do in a full season yet. Mm-hmm. And so I think, even last year, coming in late, that's always tough, as it goes back to my Rasheed fear, like you just have these lost seasons. But Omenihu, I think the year after the injury is where you kind of look at a guy that can take a leap. I think Mike Dana really struggled last year. He's kind of listed as the starter now. I don't think that will last in terms of, who's our front four on the, most pressing third downs kind of thing. I think that will be Omenihu. And so I think he just kind of takes a leap this year, and we kind of see like a 10 to 12 sack season out of Charles Omenihu, because I think the talent is there and he could do it, and we just haven't had like a full true season of Charles Omenihu yet. So he's my guy. All right.
He's got to be frustrated, man. He's had like just shit luck since he got here. If he actually got to play 17 games, I think you're 100% right. Like that's a dude that's got a lot that we haven't seen.
All right. Quick hitters done. Let's get back to these questions. We are on number 8. We got to flow through here pretty quick. We're at 45 minutes here. All right. Number 8. Did you know every season since 2019, the Chiefs have ranked in the top 11 in the NFL in sacks? They have won the Super Bowl. 2019, they were 11th. 2020, they were 19th. 2021, they were 30th. 2022, 2nd. 2023, 3rd. And then last year, 13th. So it's kind of drawing a line. Yeah, just short last year. It was even more like divisive before last year. But this defense, this team kind of goes as their pass rush goes. So I think that's always a story. I have this kind of in my questions every single year, I feel like. We can also phrase this question as our comrade Benjamin Santos does in our Colombian chat, as he so eloquently put it. Pass rush going to be ass this year. Which I don't know where that came from. It was in a preseason game that I wasn't watching. Must have had some bad reps in there. But what are your thoughts on the pass rush or this stat or anything?
There are days where I'm like, where is it going to come from? And there are days where I'm just not worried at all. I think that what I'm actually like expecting, I don't know if it is this season, but I'm expecting another step from George Karlaftis. I think that is a guy that's going to be in double digits most years of his career. Where he's really been lacking so far, like the one area where George is not on par with, if we're thinking specifically about like Chiefs players like the Tombas and the Justin Houstons, George has one forced fumble in these first 4 years, and Tamba had like 10. He has more sacks than Tamba did. He's getting to the quarterback, but he's not like, separating the quarterback from the football. The pass deflections are obviously a big part of what George does. I think it's an aspect of his game that helps raise his profile a little bit more over some guys that might feel similarly talented. So I think I'm really expecting a lot from George. You mentioned Mike Dana, ass last year, like just a huge disappointment. And I think he would say the same thing. I don't know if he was healthy and so on and so forth, but like as a paid guy, it wasn't good. Yeah. And Felix is completely out of the picture. Now, he was kind of a non-factor last year, but like, I just, if it ain't Chris Jones and it ain't George Karlaftis, it certainly better be your boy Amenahu, because like beyond that, you're talking about rookies, and I don't know what you're going to get from an Ashton Gelati, and I don't know what you're going to get from an Omar Norman Law. I mean, like Norman Lott is such an interesting case because they build him like he was the reincarnation of Turk Wharton, and then they put however many pounds on him, and everybody's like, he's not explosive anymore. And so I don't know, man. I mean, that is a spot worthy of being nervous. But the thing, I guess, where I'm always like go back to like the happy place is just understanding this is kind of what Steve Spagnuolo does. Like, don't get me wrong. The 2007 Giants exist, right? One of the most talented defensive lines ever assembled. But like this Chiefs defensive line is not really all that different from the ones that won the Super Bowl 2 out of the last 3 seasons. So, like I just assume they'll probably figure it out. Will they get to 11th? I don't know. That seems like that's the line, huh?
That is the line. You said get to their happy place, which Happy Gilmore too, by far the best joke in it. He's like, he has to redefine his happy place or whatever, and he's like, I gotta redefine it, and it shows him sitting on the bathroom looking at his phone. I lost it. Like, I'm older now. I gotta redefine what a happy place is. That was good. Yeah, looking at the sacks last year. Looking at the sacks last year, Karlaftis at 8, Wharton at 6.5, now gone. Chris Jones only 5, and then Dana at 3.5, Bolton, Pennell at 3. It's just like not prolific, really. I'm kind of surprised they ranked 13th with numbers like that. I think sacks are just really down across the league with like quick passing, how it's taken off. But yeah, I think you're definitely looking at Chris Jones getting more than 5 in there. You need a guy like Ominahu, who only had 1 last year. So you need him to step up. George, you're expecting him to stay in that 8 to 10, hopefully a little higher range. But I think they have the weapons, and I think it's just and we'll see. I don't know why they've gone up and down so much throughout this 7-year run or whatever. Like it's shocking that they'd be 30th in 2021 and then come back in 2022 and be second. Like that's a huge swing. But clearly it's leading. It's kind of foretelling their playoff success, if you will. But yeah, I think this defense is just always predicated on if they can pressure the quarterback. And so that will be just a huge question this year. See how it checks out.
It's like shades of Giants. Like those that have, been riding with us for years and years, when we hired Spags, I was like hard anti-Spags because I'm like, they won the Super Bowl or they were like bottom 5 in the league in defense. Like it was just this feast or famine every time he's a defensive coordinator. They're either top 5 or bottom 5. And now we're seeing that play out, but not in like total defense, just in the sacks category. That's interesting to me. Like I'm just now kind of realizing that was a huge fear, that like, where's the consistency from this defense when Spags came in? And they have been very, very consistent under him. But yeah, that sacks number going up and down, that's interesting. It's interesting.
All right. Question 9. Did the Chiefs shore up their biggest downgrade from 2023 to 2024? Did they shore it up here in 2025? And no, I am not speaking about the offensive line that had 3 players at their peak position, because I thought the biggest weakness on the team was the cornerback room, especially once Jalen Watson went down. I just thought it caused a lot of problems to the point where Spags didn't trust his corners. I think it affected the blitz scheme that they could use because of that. Whereas in 2023, I mean, they had elite level play at corner. I mean, L'Jarius Sneed playing out of his mind, and Trent McDuffie, and Jalen Watson for a full season. Like, it's hard to find like a better cornerback room than that on any NFL team, like across the last 20 years kind of thing. Like that is a loaded room. Once we now know what Jalen Watson is, added to those other 2 dudes playing at their peak from what we've seen in their career, like that's just an unbelievable room in 2023. And that's why the defense was so damn good and carried us to a Super Bowl that year. So then 2024, we see a bit of a downfall of Jalen Watson, and then we see Trent McDuffie pushed out of the slot, and we just have issue after issue with that slot cornerback position, kind of forcing Roland Wallace down in there or forcing Chimichanga down in there. And it just feels like it plays this big problem. We have Nasir Johnson playing on the outside, and it's just a problem all season long. Did they do enough this offseason to shore that up?
I don't know, man. It's interesting. Like, there was so much talk last year. At the beginning of the year, I said that like their 12th man, like whoever that nickel corner is, and however, Spags decides to deploy these guys, was going to be kind of the story of the defense last year. And I think they still have the same problem. Like, they don't know who to play in that spot. And it's such a pivotal thing because Trent McDuffie there is an all pro, and Trent McDuffie on the outside is like Pro Bowl, which, not the same thing. Right. I don't know, man. I know a lot of people are frustrated about seeing Chamari Connor in the slot so often, particularly in this like preseason situation that we've been watching. But look, I bet he hates it as much as we do. I bet every time that Chimichurri is in there and the call comes in and he's going to be lined up over the slot, he's thinking, great, I'm about to get cooked on national TV again. Thanks, coach. It's obvious that guy should not be a slot against receivers. Chamari Connor feels like a box safety to me, a guy that is in many ways kind of a glorified linebacker, and should not be counted on in the side to side trying to cover that slot. Like, it just is not a winning formula.
I think it got to a point where opposing teams, if they see him, if they think it's man coverage and he's in the slot, like they know where they're going. Like, here it is. There's the matchup we want. And we're not going to be able to stop it because he's just not quick enough to cover a slot receiver.
The secondary. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I think the frustration here is that you just have to find a way to get Trent McDuffie into the slot. Because I don't think anybody else on the roster is really built for it. I think that, going back to 2023, that played just as big a role as L'Jarius chasing the number ones and shutting them down as having McDuffie in the slot, shutting that down. And it's just, who the hell you got to throw at? You just have someone, now we're blitzing because we trust these guys in this coverage. So it's just, they presented so many problems, and just time after time last year, whether it was Roland Wallace or Chimichurri, it's just, they didn't get the job done. And even weirder now is Chimichurri listed as like the starting safety. I hear people calling Roland Wallace a safety. I feel like Spags used to do this, or maybe that was like the Bob Sutton thing. They used to always play like a safety in the slot. I guess Tyrann Mathieu did it a lot. He was pretty good for a safety, being able to cover that slot. But I kind of remember Abdullah doing it a little bit too. I'm not sure where he fit in there in the timeline, but
I think they
did some
with Kendall Fuller too, but he was like kind of corner, kind of safety,
Yeah, and he started as a corner. I think he was built more for it, and I just don't. You need like a quick twitch guy to cover that slot. I think it's a super important position, as people who follow the show should know by now. And I just think I still think on the roster, the only player that's built to do that is Trent McDuffie, which then makes the clear answer outside have to be Fulton and Jalen Watson, unless you want to throw the rookie Noel Williams in there, which I'd be fine with as well. But Trent McDuffie in the slot, no matter what.
And like that, the point that you just made, Jalen Watson, Christian Fulton, Noel Williams. The Chiefs at no point last year had 3 guys not named McDuffie that they felt good about on the outside. There was never a moment where they felt that way last year, in my opinion. Now, look, who knows how fast they can integrate a guy like Noel Williams. But to me, if you don't have Trent McDuffie in the slot for as many slot snaps as your defense can take, then you're doing a disservice to this football team. And I have no qualms saying that, sitting here in my computer chair as an English teacher, to a guy that is going to be the first Hall of Fame coordinator. I don't have a problem with that. Like Spags, he's your best player, and the slot is his best position. If you do not put Trent McDuffie there, you are doing a disservice to this football team. Like, truly. And I think that having 3 guys to choose from in those 3, if we go into those nickel sets, and having another backup that doesn't even have to be on the field that can fill in at outside corner in Noel Williams, I think they should be fine. McDuffie should play every single slot snap that they can stomach, for like, seriously. And to me, where this gets really interesting is we talked about earlier on the extension question, how the Chiefs kind of had to choose between Nick Bolton and Justin Reed. And Justin Reed not being at the back of that defense now, like you mentioned, corner being a huge weakness, that might switch to safety this year, man. As excited as I am about a Jaden Hicks, and as much as I will cap for Brian Cook more than most, like those 2 plus Connor, and if you want to call it Nazeeh Johnson or Chris Roland Wallace or whatever, like our safety room, nobody even knows who these guys are outside of Kansas City. Like, it's a bunch of no-namers. People, national media will probably look at that Chiefs safety room and say, good luck. Brian Cook's the elder statesman now since they released Mike Edwards. And, like, we don't even know if Brian Cook is good. We don't know if any safety on this team is good. Like, there is caution. There's cause for concern there, and everybody, I think, should be excited about potential. But, man, like, there's absolutely reason to be nervous on the back end, too. And if, we talk about how the pass rush and the secondary work together, if the pass rush is ass, and we've got this young secondary, like, there is a recipe for disaster on the defensive side of the ball. But thankfully, they're coached by Spags.
Yeah, and we probably haven't talked about Justin Reed enough. I actually had a question on him that just kind of hit the cutting room floor, but his presence, his leadership, both on and off the field, it remains to be seen how that will be felt, because I think Justin Reed was very, very important to the team as a leader, as a player on the field. Like, I think he was an underrated player, and I don't think they made the wrong decision, because don't really want to get into paying older defensive backs. But I do think it remains to be seen what kind of impact that will have. And those are big shoes to fill, I guess I would say, for like a young guy coming in, Jaden Hicks, in his first time really starting and playing in the NFL. Did you put any stock whatsoever in the depth chart that had Chimichurri listed as a starting safety and Jaden Hicks as the backup safety? Do you think if they're lining up in a base defense, that will be the lineup? Because I thought that was kind of weird.
Honestly, I didn't even see it.
That was in their depth chart that they released. It shouldn't be taken that seriously, but it was on there. So I thought that was the big thing that caught my eye was Jimmy Cherry listed as the starting safety over Jaden Hicks. I was like, really? Like I thought it was just etched in stone that Cook and Jaden Hicks will be playing 100% of the snaps out there.
Yeah, I mean that's my guess. The Justin Reed thing is hard. I think that he was easily among the 2 or 3 best players on this defense. It's hard to put him over McDuffie and Jones. But, after that, it's a coin flip between he and Nick Bolton, basically. And Justin Reed, always talked he would be the guy that would stand in front of the media if the defense had a bad day and all that. I will say this is like a Veach thing, I honestly think that Justin Reed was one of the few players on the defense that had probably reached their peak. Like if Justin Reed was still on the team this year, I don't know if he had it in him to have his best game as a Chief. I think that those days are behind him and he's not too old or anything. It's just kind of where he's at. And occasionally you have to make moves like this in order to be hungry, right? Like the for replacement, Justin Reed goes and you put Jaden Hicks in here who has something to prove. And sometimes you just have to mix it up like that. I will say this though, in terms of replacing Justin Reed, I think a lot of the leadership and the communication stuff is falling on Brian Cook, not on Jaden Hicks. And, you kind of get a nod in there from McDuffie. He's obviously going to take more of a prominent leadership role in the secondary too. I'm interested how you think about that Fulton signing where we started, because I think you're a Jalen Watson guy. And Fulton has missed some time. But I think it probably could have been anyone with good size and a physical brand of outside corner. It felt like when they signed him, it foreshadowed McDuffie back to the slot. And that's what we want, right?
I hope so. And we saw I think they trotted it out there in the Bears game, which I think is probably the only preseason game that Fulton played because he's been banged up. So I loved the Fulton signing. I thought he was, graded out as a good corner last year. I didn't realize he was the corner that intercepted that pass from Mahomes where Rasheed gets hurt until we watched the Kingdom. So I just didn't make that connection, but that was kind of weird. But yeah, I think he's a good player, and that's just what you need. You need another solid body out there that can play outside boundary corner and push McDuffie to the inside. It's just the only way. And I don't even know if McDuffie's I think he's better on the inside, but he's still good on the outside. It's more of a lack of options of other players that can play that slot position. So I think that's the biggest reason you want to push him inside like that. But no, I love the Fulton signing. He was playing at the end of that or late into that Bears game, and he looked great. I mean, he was smothering receivers. I don't know who he was covering. It was probably second and third string receivers at that point, but he was all over. So I am excited about what Christian Fulton can bring.
One counterpoint that we all have to keep in mind. We're begging to move Trent McDuffie back to the slot when he finally started intercepting passes playing outside corner. So, if we want to keep those couple turnovers trickling in, don't know if slot is the place for McDuffie to be, unfortunately.
I'll take that to get him away from the A.J. Browns of the world and push him to the Devontae Smiths of the world.
Amen.
All right, let's get to number 10 quickly here. This is just a look around the AFC. Real quick, just who's more likely to break through in 2025 and beat the Chiefs and stop their dominance in the AFC? Don't say nobody. And the choice is Bills, Ravens, or the field. Both Ravens and Bills currently favored over the Chiefs, amazingly enough, to make the Super Bowl. Makes sense. Yeah, because we've seen that happen a bunch of times. But which of those teams do you think is more prepared? Who do you have your eye on this year, or any thoughts about those two?
All right. So if you guys haven't heard this yet, then you haven't been listening to Offseason podcasts, because I think I've heard it from about 7 different shows. The Bills have the 5th easiest schedule in the league. And more importantly, they do not travel further west than the Central Time Zone the entire season. Their furthest road games from Buffalo are Houston and Miami. You couple that with a less competitive division, and they should be favorites to be the 1 seed in the AFC. They just simply don't go further west than fucking Texas. Like it's crazy to me that the schedule landed so favorably for them in that way. I mean, but here's the thing. Every single year that the Bills and Ravens don't get to the Super Bowl with those quarterbacks, the pressure and the noise gets greater and louder. And you know, look, until either one of them actually wins an AFC championship and goes to the Super Bowl, I'm going to assume they can't do it. That's where I'm at. You got to prove it. So I would take the field if we're talking about someone overtaking the Chiefs this year, because I think it would be more of an outlier than one of these teams who keeps getting cracks at it but can't push through. I'm going to take the mental edge. I'm going to take the big brother of the Chiefs over those two familiar opponents and say that it would be way more likely to be someone not the Bengals. When I say like the Bengals, it's how that team came up. You know, whoever the young quarterback is that you know strings it all together. Maybe it's Trevor Lawrence finally has a year, or Justin Herbert, or whoever. Like, there's plenty of options here, but I think the Chiefs would be more likely to lose to someone unforeseen than lose to one of those big favorites, in my personal opinion.
All right, Ryan has Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers making the AFC Championship. Got that marked down. Or is it Shador? What are you thinking, Shador?
Well, he plays for the Browns, so that would be a different team. No, I mean, like, I could see a team like Houston, you know. They've got this incredible defense. They've got a young quarterback. They have some weapons, you know, like Houston could be that team, right? It could they surprise you, you know.
They kind of had that sophomore slump, but their defense is really good. So if Stroud can take a step, and I think the offensive line is kind of their biggest question. So if they can just find the pieces to shore up the offensive line, I can see the Texans making some noise.
My team is Tennessee. They're not like playoff team, but like sneaky, gonna be better than anyone thinks. No one is talking about them. Tennessee.
Yeah, he looks great.
High on the Titans.
He's had some clips that look. He looks great. So I think he'd be good. I'll say the Bills. I just think they're the closest team to doing it. And so I just think it's eventually we're going to play one of these games, and one of these plays at the end are going to go their way. I mean, Josh Allen's had the ball in his hands these last two seasons with the chance to do it and hasn't done it. So, you know, change a play or two in there at some point, and maybe they get the job done. So I'd say the Bills. And my hot take here is that the Ravens are going to miss the playoffs. I just think something happens. It's just been the same for too long. So I think we see some kind of change up here, some kind of variance. And I mean, a lot of that's Lamar and Derrick Henry staying healthy. You know, they both did last year, but Lamar's been banged up throughout his career, and Derrick Henry is over 30 years old at this point with a lot of tread on the tires. So how long is that going to last? He held up last year. It doesn't mean he's going to hold up this year. He's going to break that eventually. So I could easily see one of those two kind of breaking down. And then they had that shaky defense last year. So I'm just going to say, bold take here. Ravens with the playoffs.
I want to caution you a little bit about Josh Allen, though, because that guy had a tough offseason, man. All right.
Yeah.
Josh Allen had to watch his, I think at the time, fiance do all that she did in Sinners. And it seems like he just instantly was like, we're getting married tomorrow. All right. You had a opposite Michael B. Jordan. I'm locking this down. Like, just instantly terrified.
On the set. No.
No. Hi, we gotta go. Dirk, I wanna acknowledge, but not talk about one topic that I think people may be like, how the hell do you guys not address this? We're gonna talk about Travis Kelce. I promise. And not the marriage of it all, but he is 30 whatever now, and basically telegraphed that he was going to retire last year had they not lost the Super Bowl. Okay. I know a lot of people are looking at it. A lot of people are thinking about it. I'm nervous that they're going to try to treat him like the number one in this offense, despite where he is and who he is. I'm scared. It's hard to step away from old habits. They die hard, man. We'll see. There will be plenty of time for Travis Kelce talk. All right. So don't think we just forgot.
Oh, we didn't spend much time talking about him. It's in good shape. Everything good shape. That's good.
Well, look, I'm Ryan Scott Hall. He's his Dirkness. You guys know this show is called Amateur Hour. Look,
let's go, baby.
If you're trying to watch the video, you got to go to Spotify. It's free. You can watch it for free on Spotify. All right. You know, we're anti-YouTube. Got to get on the Spotify.
Fuck YouTube.
You know, but get the word out there. Amateur Hour's back, season 14. And we're going to be riding the whole way, watching what the Chiefs do, trying to recover from that really tough Super Bowl loss. All right.
Best time of the year, baby. Best time of the year.
Can't wait. Chiefs and Chargers in Brazil.
Sao Paulo.
Did you hear Xavier Worthy say the only thing he knew about Brazil was Fast and the Furious?
No.
It was so great. It was really great.
Brazil? Was Fast and Furious in Brazil? Or?
It's like one of the Fast and Furious movies is in Brazil, and he's like, honestly, it is absolutely priceless audio. Go find Xavier Worthy after practice from today, and you will get a good chuckle. This has been Amateur Hour. I'm Ryan Scott Hall. He's his Dirkness.
Four reefs.
Four reefs.
Bye.